Good evening and welcome to News Hour. Coming up in this edition of the news, European Commission supports the government of Sierra Leone with 73 million euros. Vice President expresses government's commitment to promoting the extractive industries transparency initiative validation process. The Office of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice begins the process of appointing new human rights commissioners and the Anti-Corruption Commission to investigate the non-payment of taxes by supermarkets and other business entities. Well, all these stories are coming up in this edition of the news. And my name is Daphne Zainab Kamara. First, the news hour tonight. President Julius Maada Bio has received a huge boost from the European Commission in Brussels with a pledge of 73 million euros to Sierra Leone following a successful meeting between him and the European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker in Brussels. The 73 million euros is part of the three financing agreements signed between the European Commission and the government of Sierra Leone to support inclusive and sustainable socio-economic growth and strengthening of democratic governance. Hawa Musiri reports.
Which was signed covered state-building contract support to civil society and local authorities for local development and Sierra Leone component of West Africa Competitiveness Program. Out of 73 million euros, 45 million euros will be allocated to the state building, which represent second phase of the European Commission budgetary support to the government of Sierra Leone, and 23 million euros will be allocated to support civil society organizations and local authorities to fund and implement development initiatives that respond to the priority needs of communities in a sustainable way. During the bilateral meeting, President Juncker praised President Julius Maada Bio for his impressive leadership and commitment to human capital development reforms agenda, fiscal discipline, and efficient economic management. As a leading champion in Africa on the fight against corruption, President Bio was also lauded by President Claude Juncker. President Julius Maada Bio commended the European Commission President for his country's support to his new administration and commitment to strengthening the relationships between the European Commission. The huge financial commitment by the European Commission to support President Bio's new direction agenda and his several engagements with senior officials of the European Commission demonstrates the international admiration of President Julius Maada Bio's presidency. President Bio also called for diamonds to be cut and polished in Sierra Leone during his visit to Antwerp World Diamond Center in Belgium. Addressing members and management of the Antwerp World Diamond Center, diamond traders, miners, bankers, and the press, President Julius Maada Bio highlighted that Sierra Leone is a major exporter of diamonds, but however, stated that more focus should now be placed on value addition to diamonds in Sierra Leone.
We are still not clear as to how we can structure the relationship between our government heading in a new direction and the industry. We want to be able to account for the many holes that has been dug in our country in search of diamonds. I think the AWC is in a perfect position to help us decide as to how we can structure a relationship between Sierra Leone and the AWC so that we can take in as much as we can to input that into social spending for our people.
President Julius Maada Bio noted that his new government wants a different relationship with Antwerp World Diamond Center to support Sierra Leone with the infrastructure that will increase the value of diamonds in Sierra Leone before exports. He invited diamond companies, miners, and traders to the country for investment, but stressed on the need for investment to be transparent and credible. The president disclosed why he recognized the strategic importance of diamonds. His administration would like to use the resources for diamonds to invest in human capital development.
In as much as we are paying a lot of attention to take in as much as we can from this industry. We want to see how we can use the resources that we get from the diamonds to develop our human resource for the future, sustainable development in our country. So there's a lot we can do together, and there's a lot that we need to do together. 570 years of history in diamonds. We have less than 100 years of experience in diamond. We want to learn from this center and the many people here how we can share the knowledge and skills you have.
Later, President Julius Maada Bio was taken on a conducted tour of the center by the Chief Executive Officer, visiting various laboratories for cutting, polishing, grading, and valuation of diamonds. SABC TV News Eye in Freetown, Hawa Mosiri reporting.
Vice President Dr. Mohamed Julde Jallow has said that government takes extractive industries transparency initiative validation very seriously. He was speaking when a fact-finding team from the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative paid a courtesy call on him. Taboste reports.
In accordance with the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative standard, Sierra Leone is due to undergo validation to assess whether EITI implementation is consistent with the EITI standards. Vice President Dr. Mohamed Julde Jallow said the move is a good opportunity for government to reaffirm their commitment to supporting transparency and accountability in the extractive oil and gas industries. He said since 2016, this is the first time Sierra Leone will be evaluated, and that government is looking forward to the report because they want to use it to serve as a basis to effect reform.
Also serious about meeting the 2020 commitment to make public ownership. We are working towards that. Since it is a requirement of the EITI, so that at least public ownership will be made public by 2020. So as a result of that, we have been working with the leadership very closely. The Minister of State in the Office of the Vice President has been engaged specifically on that dossier. So we really look forward to this process, and we hope that this process will be forward-looking. As I said, it is going to establish the basis for reforms that will enable us, to build, to increase transparency and accountability in the extractive industry.
The technical manager, Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, Christopher Clausen, described the process as a recording standards that lays out 3 parts of which is required for transparency in the extractive sector. He said the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative have 51 member countries.
Ensuring that Sierra Leone is making progress towards meeting the EITI standard. Now these provisions, it's not about pass-fail. There's not a strict fail, there's not a strict pass. There are degrees of progress in ensuring that various information is available, that the process of ensuring transparent information, that process works as it should, and that the information is possible to use and it's accessible for people and the wider public.
As part of the validation process, the team will hold consultations with key stakeholders such as the Sierra Leone Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, multi-stakeholder group, government representatives, civil society groups, and mining companies. For News Hour in Freetown, Thomas Neal reporting.
The former Commissioners of Human Rights Commission were relieved of their duties by the government some 9 months ago. Their removal has raised so many debates in and outside the country. Some say they were illegally removed from office, whilst the government says the former commissioners meddled into politics and were not impartial. The Office of the Attorney General has begun the process of appointing new sets of commissioners. In this interview with the Deputy Minister of Justice, Abdoulaye Bengura, he explained to Asmi Ba the current status of the Human Rights Commission.
The status of the commission, ASMEO, is that we had sent out adverts inviting nominations from the public for appointment as commissioners to the Human Rights Commission. And subsequent to those adverts, we received nominations from the public, nominating competent and very independent Sierra Leoneans, in our view, seeking to become commissioners of the Human Rights Commission. And upon receipt of those nominations from the public, we shortlisted those we deemed most qualified, because in our view, most of them were qualified, but we have shortlisted them. And we've also gone ahead to select the selection panel that will sit on the interview. And we have written to those shortlisted nominees to come for an interview on the 12th of this month for the selection panel to determine amongst them who is qualified to be appointed as a commissioner. When they appear before the selection panel, the law says that the selection panel should choose 7 of them from among those that have been shortlisted, and those 7 will be gazetted, and after gazetting them, we'll send the list of 7 to His Excellency the President, and we will now select 5 from among those 7 that are gazetted. So we are on course. As at the 12th of this month, there will be an interview by the selection panel.
The former commissioners claimed that they were wrongfully dismissed by the government.
Well, we have not dismissed anybody. I mean, I want to make it clear that Section 4, Subsection 3 of the Human Rights Commission of Sierra Leone Act, number 9 of 2004, makes provision for the occurrence of vacancies in the commission. And from the conduct of the 3 commissioners who were in office, I mean, we hold the view that those vacancies had occurred. So even before the release that came from State House, there were already vacancies at the Human Rights Commission. 2 of the commissioners, their time had expired, and because of the expiration of their term, their second and final term, there were already 2 vacancies. And the 3 that were there, we hold the view that they willfully fail to participate in the activities of the commission, which is one ground by which a vacancy can occur in the commission. In the face of all the human rights abuses by our predecessors in office, I mean, you and I, we are in this country, we know what happened. We saw a vice president being sacked. We saw when the Bar Association met on the sacking of the vice president, they were attacked, assaulted, and some of them detained by the police. The Human Rights Commission did nothing. They also have performed their role as Human Rights Commission in protection of the rights of those people that were abused. But, I mean, let me just complete some of the instances that I was going to cite for you. Apart from the sacking of the vice president, we also saw demonstrations, peaceful demonstrations being gunned down by the police. Nothing came out. And we also saw the Human Rights Commissioners overtly supporting an injunction that was slammed on neck that will have, but for the sake of God, plunged this country into chaos. And one of them almost fought a civil society activist because of that civil society activist's position on that injunction. He confronted him on social media, he confronted him severally in person, and that should not be the conduct of a Human Rights Commissioner in the face of what that injunction meant to this country. And that besides the point, we feel that because of their partisan stance, they failed to perform the work of the commission. And by Section 4, Subsection 3E, when a commissioner willfully refuses to perform the functions of the commission, then there will be a vacancy. And let me just clarify to the public that it's not in every situation that you'll have to go through the procedure set out in Section 137 of the Constitution. In Section 137 of the Constitution, it's only when you want to remove or dismiss a commissioner from office. But there are instances where a vacancy will occur by operation of law because of the conduct or an event that may have occurred. A vacancy will occur when a commissioner dies, he resigns, his time had elapsed, or he's become bankrupt, or he's become a member of a political party, or in the alternative, he willfully refused to perform the function of the commission. And in any of those situations, I mean, there will be a vacancy by operation of law. So as at the press release that came from State House, which they are now harping on, as at that time, there were already vacancies in the commission. They were not wrongfully dismissed. And let us not forget that that's the Human Rights Commission of this country.
He is the Deputy Minister of Justice, Abdullahi Bangura, ending that interview with Asmi Uba. The Ministry of Finance has updated journalists on the 2019 financial budget for ministries, departments and agencies. The Deputy Financial Secretary, Ministry of Finance, Matthew Dingy, said as a means of improving the conditions of civil and public servants, the government has reduced payee tax in the 2019 budget. He made the statement at the weekly press briefing in the Ministry of Information and Communications Conference Hall, UA Building in Freetown. Joseph Toure filing this report.
To the Principal Deputy Financial Secretary, Minister of Finance, Matthew Dingy, the government will set a commission next year to look into the disparities of salaries in ministries, departments and agencies of government. He noted that the 2019 budget focuses on human development capital. He added that the minimum wage for government pensioners come January will be 250,000 leons.
On top of that, there is a salary increase of 10% for grades 1 to 6 and 5% from grades 7 to 14. And this is in addition, especially for the grades 1 to 6, to a 10% that is already being implemented for this year, this 2018 budget. The supplementary budget to the minister presented in July as a result of the liberalization of fuel prices, which saw the fuel price increase from 6,000 to 8,000 per litre. We had to increase salaries by 10%, especially to the vulnerable people earning lower salaries in the public sector by 10%. So within a 6-month period, salaries for people for grade 1 to 6 have now been increased by 20%. So from January, they will get another 10%, in addition to what they are receiving now, another 10%. So from January, they will see a 20% increase in their salary compared to end June.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Corporate Affairs Commission, Makela Make, stated that Sierra Leone has been ranked 55 out of 190 by the World Bank for a convenient business place for starting a business. She noted that it is the first time that government allocates 12.9 billion to boost the business. The Director of Foreign Trade, Ministry of Trade, Edward Sise, reiterated that as a way to boost the trade sector, government has domesticated the African Free Trade Area Agreement. He added that this will create more employment and generate more revenue for the government, and that the way forward to boost the economy is through trade and not limited to aid. He added that the African Free Trade Area Agreement will facilitate trade between and among African countries. Giving an update on the activities of government, the Deputy Minister of Information and Communications, lawyer Solomon Jamiru, said government is concerned about the other areas in the business sector that are not doing well. He added that the government is determined to generate electricity through other means. Lawyer Jamiru said that the Ministry of Lands has harmonized building permits, which was not the case before.
The Commissioner of the Anti-Corruption Commission, Francis Ben Kaifala, has said that the Commission is keen on investigating the non-payment of tax by businesses like supermarkets and other business entities, among others. He made the statement during an engagement with the civil society and media at the Anti-Corruption Commission Conference Hall in Freetown. Mayeni Mansare and Ami Masako were at the forum and sent in this report.
Sierra Leone scoring 71% in the Millennium Challenge Cooperation Unit scoreboard is a welcoming development for a country thriving in the fight against corruption. The Commissioner of the Anti-Corruption Commission, Francis Ben Kaifala, has said the commission under his leadership is the People's Commission, as they should be actively involved in the fight, as he has drawn a line against corruption in Sierra Leone.
For example, if you are managing director and you are put in charge of looking after money given for a project, and that money goes on and the project is carelessly done, or some other people deal with the resources of the project in such a way that it does not reflect what the people of Sierra Leone wanted. When we investigate and find you liable, we present you with the evidence against you, and we tell you, we give you an option. to pay back in full. This is where you have to note, to pay back in full what the Commission determines is the liability under that project.
He said for any country to develop faster, it depends on the payment of tax by its citizens, especially commercial institutions and huge businesses. The commissioner added that the commission is dedicated to investigating matters that touch and concern the survival of Sierra Leoneans, which cannot be compromised. He said all cases will be charged to court unless defaulters fail to pay the fines leveled against them. A representative from the civil society, Charles Mambu, said the fight against corruption is an open one and called on the commission to provide trainings for partners at community level to make the fight a participatory one. A representative from the media, Abubakar Sherif, said in fighting corruption, one must be corrupt-free. He said media practitioners can play a critical role in changing the perception of people, and journalists have an integral role to play in the fight against corruption in Sierra Leone.
The Minister of Technical and Higher Education, Professor Eya Kwakima, has commended the management of the Sierra Leone Brewery Limited for contributing immensely in job creation and career development for thousands of Sierra Leoneans across various sectors. The minister was speaking at the company's annual Career and Talent Pool Day for university and college students held at the Sierra Leone Brewery Limited compound, Wellington. Ibrahim Samora reports.
This year's job fair is Sierra Leone Brewery Limited employer of choice. The Career and Talent Pool Day geared towards increasing the employability of young Sierra Leonean graduates. Head of Human Resources Sierra Leone Brewery Limited, Zura Anthony, said the company hosted the event to provide students from various universities and colleges an opportunity to learn about the company. She said it is also a forum for managers in the business to impact their knowledge and experiences in their career journey to students and the necessary guidance required for the job market, especially in the manufacturing industry. The objective, Mother Anthony said, the job fair will help to introduce students to careers related to their coursework and better understanding of the type of subject areas to choose. Managing Director Sierra Leone Brewery Limited, Dav Van Tilburg, said the company has immensely contributed to the growth of the country's economy since its establishment in 1961 through their products. He noted that they believe in developing the talent and career of young people, saying that they have increased their investment and capacity building of staff.
In the last 3 years, SLBL has invested over 35 million euro, that's 270 billion leos, in a brewery here in Wellington. And with this investment, we are also very much invested in our people.
Keynote speaker, Minister of Technical and Higher Education, Professor Eya Kwakima, said government has provided training opportunities for young students through the academic as well as structured training pathways for mid-career professionals who are keen to switch to the industrial sector. Professor Kwakima urged the students to take advantage of the job fair, calling on them to continue to improve their skills by participating in various trainings and upgrading opportunities. He said Sierra Leone is one of the fastest growing economies of the world, with lots of demand for jobs.
The challenges in our country on education and job security in the past decade have emphasized the importance of your pursuit and the role of employers such as Sierra Leone Brewery Limited.
The Corporate Relations Manager, Sierra Leone Brewery Limited, Albert Collier, gave a background to the establishment of the company, saying that they started operations in Sierra Leone before the country gained independence. He said to date, the Sierra Leone Brewery Limited has contributed to the country's socio-economic development with huge investment in the country.
As the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development and the Decentralization Secretariat remember Ebola victims in Bombali and Port Loko districts, Ebola survivors have called on the government and partners to look after their health and other welfare issues. They made this call during the remembrance ceremonies in Bombali and Port Loko districts. Aruna Patrick Kumar reports.
Was declared Ebola-free in November 7, 2015. The Japanese Social Development Fund project that was written in 2016 and approved in 2017 is funded through the World Bank and implemented by the Decentralization Secretariat, targeting 4 councils that were badly hit during the Ebola virus in 2014. Chairperson Ebola Survivors Association, Bombali District, Mayatu Kagu, and the Secretary General, Ebola Survivors, Port Loko District, Ali Kamara, said, as they who practically felt the pain of the disease can only tell how deadly and painful the disease is. They call on government and partners to support them with proper medical treatment as they are still facing difficulties with their health. Most of them, they said, lost their manhood, eyesight problems, among other ailments that they are currently facing. Chairman Bombali District Council John Shangai Kuruma and Chairman Port Loko District Council Ibrahim Bangura said their districts recorded the highest deaths during the Ebola because people failed to accept the reality of the disease initially. The Director of the Decentralization Secretariat, Alex Bonafa, said the post-Ebola commemoration project is for 4 councils in areas that were badly affected by the disease according to an international survey, which shows Western Area, Western Rural, Port Loko, and Bombali districts. He said the tree planting in cemeteries in the 4 districts was to provide shade for the dead as part of the remembrance project, adding that plans are underway to extend their projects to other districts. The Minister of Political and Public Affairs, Ambassador Mohamed Fode Kela, the Deputy Minister of Social Welfare, Gender and Children's Affairs, Mohamed Kela, and the Resident Minister Northwest, Aja Aissata Kamara, said the Ebola disease united Sierra Leoneans as it was taken as a national fight. They said the disease affected the nation badly because the health sector was not in preparedness for such a health emergency. The Deputy Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, Honorable Philip Tondane, recommended that the hand washing be across the board as there is a tendency for Ebola to resurface. He called on councils to take good care of the Ebola victim cemeteries as they will one day be declared as touristic sites. The Member of Parliament, Constituency 069, Honorable Abdul Karim, Paramount Chief Adikali Mala of Bekaloko Chiefdom, and the District Medical Officer, Port Loko District, Mahmoud Kamara, cautioned the community not to encroach on the cemetery and call on government to support the councils and the communities in taking care of the cemetery. The planting of trees in the cemeteries and unveiling and dedication of projects to Ebola victims and the memorial service form part of the commemoration in Bombali and Port Loko districts respectively.
The National Social Security and Insurance Trust, NASIT, has warned against the forgery of Social Security clearance certificates by entities bidding for contracts. This, according to NASIT, is a fraudulent scheme geared towards deceit with criminal intents and implications, depriving the trust of its much-needed revenue. The Director of Public Affairs, Usman Kuroma, explains more in this interview to Princess Gibson.
One of the means by which we enforce compliance. The act that sets up NASIT makes provision for the clearance certificate. It's a document that we issue to comply institutions, and they in turn use that document for any contract they may want to get from any institution. And this document, we issue it to an institution for a period of 3 months. And most of the time it is signed by the Deputy Director General and the Director of Operations. It is this document that we've just realized that some people are falsifying it. They are submitting forged NASIT clearance certificate to to institutions in which they bid for either the provision of goods or services. And this is of very high concern to us. We are very much concerned about it because it's forgery, and by implication, it's against the law that sets up NASIT. So that is why we issued out a press release notifying the general public that there are con men that are out there that are ready to beat the system. They want to go against the law. They don't want to pay for their contributors, for their members, and these people should not be encouraged. That is why we are bringing it to the awareness of everybody, including institutions that are issuing out bidding documents to people that they want to award contracts to.
What could be the implications for such act?
The implication is very huge. First of all, it's against the law, and secondly, it means these people do not want to comply with the NASIT Act number 5 of 2001. That act says if you are an employing authority, you should register employees and you pay on the contributions on their behalf. Anybody that is falsifying this NASIT clearance certificate, it means that person is not complying with the law. Because if you are fully complying with the law, you do not need to falsify anything. I mean, to submit a forged document because you want to win a contract. It's huge, and if people are not complying with the NASIT scheme, it means we will not be getting the funds needed for us to provide the necessary services, necessary benefits that for which the NASIT Act.
That's the Director of Public Affairs, NASIT, Usman Kuruma. Well, that's how we end News Hour for tonight. To end the news, the main points again. European Commission has supported the government of Sierra Leone with 73 million euros. Vice President Dr. Mohamed Julde Jallow has expressed government's commitment to promoting the extractive industry's transparency initiative validation process. The Office of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice has begun the process of appointing new human rights commissioners. And the Anti-Corruption Commission is to investigate the non-payment of taxes by supermarkets and other business entities. Well, that's it for the news for tonight. Stay tuned to the SLBC television on channel 31 and our second channel. My name is Daphne Zainab Kamara. Thanks for watching. Good night.